free trade, and one of them was the Talisman Corporation. As you may know, that Talisman Corporation was guilty of pursuing the shale gas fracking. And as you know, the Quebecers stood up and said no shale gas fracturing here in Quebec because it destroys the land and the water table. But Stephen Harper takes that very company through his free trade and transports that destruction, exports it to Central and South America. Now, why we are here protesting this free trade agreement in front of the Notre Dame Basilica is because the Salpetians, the Notre Dame Basilica, the church, has stock in Talisman Corporation. So, the church is directly profiting from the destruction of native lands, people, and the Amazonian rainforest. Right now, at this time on our Mother Earth, it is imperative for everyone in every country to defend and to stop the major corporations from continuing to destroy the land. As we know, the Amazonian rainforest is important to the entire world, but yet this church is profiting from its destruction by having stock in the Talisman corporations and other corporations that are currently in South America through Stephen Harper's free trade agreement. When we are talking about the Amazonian rainforest, we must all protect it. We must not export the destruction of that rainforest from here in so-called Canada. You must stop Stephen Harper's free trade agreement. The church is benefiting directly from the destruction of the Amazon rainforest. They are benefiting monetarily because they have stock in the Talisman Corporation. Through Stephen Harper's free trade agreement, they have identified that the indigenous people who are protecting and defending their land are terrorists. The true terrorists are within this building. The true terrorists are within the Canadian government who are exporting that destruction in other countries. When right here, the Quebec people stood up against Talisman and the shale gas fracking. We must stop this destruction. We must not export it into other countries. If we do not allow it here, then we should not export it. The same way that it is wrong for us to export asbestos when we know that it is a poison. How could this church and the Salpetians profit from it in good conscience? That is evil what is being done. The destruction of the people and the land is being exported as official policy from the Canadian government, protecting the church's investment in Talisman. The church is directly profiting from the destruction of the Amazonian rainforest. Are standing with their sisters and brothers throughout Central and South America who are protecting the land from Stephen Harper's free trade. Stephen Harper's free trade agreement with Central and South American countries exports companies such as the Talisman Corporation, who have already been pushed out of Quebec because the Quebecois people are smart enough to know that the shale gas fracking destroys our land, destroys the water table. Talisman Corporation is in Central and South America through Stephen Harper's free trade agreement. This church here, the Notre Dame Basilica, the Salpetians have stock in the Talisman Corporation, so they are directly profiteering from the destruction of the native people and of the rainforest. This is unacceptable. This should not be permitted. The people should stand up and say no to the destruction of the rainforest and no to the church profiting from such destruction. For 500 years within this hemisphere, the church has spearheaded the oppression of the native people and the destruction of them. Still to this day, the church is profiteering from the destruction of native people and of our lands within Central and South America through Stephen Harper's free trade agreement. This church holds stock in the Talisman Corporation. The Talisman Corporation is guilty of destroying the water table, guilty of destroying the native people and their lands. This must be stopped. The church must not be allowed to profit from such illegal activity. The church has stock in Superior Plus Corporation, sodium chlorate, in the Canfor Corporation, in West Fraser Timber. This church owns stock in Canadian Pacific Railway, in CAE, the defense contractor. This church has stock in Canadian National Railway, in Celestica Incorporation, which is the military aerospace defense corporation. This church has stock in many corporations that are exporting around the world the destruction of the land, the destruction of the people. You must stop Stephen Harper's free trade agreement. Stop the free trade agreement.